So the first thing that we're going to be doing, we're going to take our loop band and we're going to be creating hip flexion and hip extension. So we're going to be going through these ranges of motion. We're going to tell the hip flexors when to turn on and when to turn off, because as we sit, they just shorten up literally all day. They're like little elastics, or big elastics really, and they just shorten and shorten and shorten if you put them in a shortened position, which is what seated and hip flexion is going to do. So we want to actually shorten them with our brains, right? But all we're doing is we're sending a signal when to turn on, and then we're going to lengthen them by pushing out, using our glutes, telling them kind of turn off so they can extend. But we're going to be taking your loop, and you're going to put it around your feet. Now last week, we did ones where we pulled up, alternating like that, something like that. But today we're going to do actually a reverse of that. So we're going to be up here in tabletop position. This is something that people who do Pilates are pretty familiar with. We're engaging our trunk. We're up here with 90-degree bend in our knees and our hips. And you're going to push one leg out. But the leg that's staying up here is the one that has the hip flexor that's working. And you bring it in, and you switch. And we're going to go for 10 on each side. And if you know me well, if you've been following along for these 7 weeks, you know that after we use our hip flexors, what do? We stretch them out. But I'm going to put a little detour in there today with some foam rolling. I've got mine right behind me. And I think I'm at 4, and we're using our core, we're activating our trunk, but we're flexing our hip flexors on purpose. We're telling them, hey, we need you to be short now, not when you're sitting. Oh yeah. I think I got 2 more on each side. 2 and 2. Okay, so this red band is going to come back to haunt us later. We work the front of our hips with it, and we're going to work the back of them in a little bit. But for now, it's time to foam roll. Foam rolling is great to stretch your muscles, to slide and glide them on their surfaces in ways that they're not used to. So your central nervous system, your brain, they get all this input from the muscles, these little things in there called muscle spindles and Golgi tendon organs, GTOs. And our brain and our spinal cord take all this information and say, oh, that muscle wants to be lengthened. I should tell it to relax. And that's what this does. So, 1 second, guys. Hey, Marta, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, guys. So we're going to take this foam roller and we're going to be putting it on the ground, and you're just going to put your weight right on top. Just like this. Right on your quads. And we're just going to roll up and roll down and roll up and roll down. You're staying off of your kneecap and you're staying off your hip bone. And you're going to just keep going up and down and up and down. You're going to go for about a minute, and then we're going to switch sides. But maybe you have a little bit of tightness and tenderness up here on the side of your hip, and that's okay to go over too. You just want to stay off the direct side. You have this little bone up in your hip, or bony prominence, called your greater trochanter. It's kind of where the ball and then your femur kind of come together. That guy's really tender, so you're going to want to stay off that. But everything else is pretty much fair game in the lower leg. And you're not lengthening your IT band, you're not breaking up adhesions, you're not doing any of that stuff. You're just stretching the muscle in a new and novel way. I'm going to switch sides here. That was about a minute. Other side. Going right on the quad. Now, I ran the other day for the first time in a while. My quads are screaming. But I did a lot of stretching. But this foam rolling feels really, really good. Just going up and down. You see I've tilted my body away to get a little bit more of my vastus lateralis, the outside quadricep muscle. And if I want to get more rectus femoris, vastus medialis, I flip right to the middle. Woo. All right. A little bit longer. And then we're going to stretch these bad boys out. We're going to do a quad hip flexor stretch. I'm like a broken record, but that's okay, because consistency is how you get results. Jumping around to a bunch of stuff, a bunch of programs, a bunch of different implements or stretches or whatever, that stuff leads you nowhere. Consistency is king. Pick something and stick to it. I love hip flexor stretching, so you get to do it as well. You've got a pillow, you've got your mat, whatever it might be. You're going to have one knee down. You're going to have 1 foot forward, about 90 degrees there. you're gonna tuck your toes in back because the big toe is the key to the rest of the kinetic chain. So it affects your ankle, it affects your knee, it affects your hip and your back and everything and so on and so forth. So if you can work on big toe mobility or getting some extension there, why not, right? Utilize this time to make everything better, not just your knee and your hip. From here, you're gonna tilt your pelvis and you're gonna come up and maybe you're feeling this huge screaming stretch. Maybe if you just push your hips forward a little bit more, you get more stretch. You want to avoid this position. But if you're not getting a stretch here, here you go. You're grabbing, you're trying to get your heel up to your butt, and we're gonna be here for the rest of the minute. If you can't do this and you have to arch your back or you're just too tight or you're somewhere 7, 8, 9, 10 out of 10 pain in the front of your leg, just back off, put your foot down and enjoy the stretch. It should be something you want to do again. So we're just stretching out. We've got about 20 seconds left on this side. And we're going to the other side. I hope everybody's had a great week. I woke up a little bit early and saw my brother and sister-in-law dancing around in their bedroom for their Instagram live that they did. It was pretty hilarious. Their playlist was money though. Let's see here. All right, we're gonna switch. Same thing, get that big toe mobility if you can. Tuck your pelvis and you're up. And maybe all you get on this side is a little bit of stretch here and you want to grab. Or maybe your sides are a little asymmetrical. Maybe one side has a much bigger stretch in this baseline position and that's where you stay. But if you don't, you grab. If you need something to balance, that's cool too. And we're stuck here for a minute. Not so bad. And after this, we're going to work on hip internal rotation, and then we're going to work on hip external rotation, ultimately ending with a Cossack squat, putting all the stuff we work on all together, hip internal and external rotation, hip extension, hip flexion, blah, blah, blah. Mike, okay, yeah, let's just stretch. Just so you know what's coming. Might be a little bit of a long one today, but that's okay. Something tells me we need it. Heading into the weekend, we've been sitting a lot, so we're going to do a lot of stretching, a lot of mobility work today. Opening up our hips so our backs can feel really good, so our knees don't take the brunt of a tight hip. Because the knee is kind of, I heard the term, a consequential joint, where it kind of is just at the mercy of the hip and the ankle. Kind of like the elbow is at the mercy of the wrist and the shoulder. And if you haven't checked out my wrist video that I posted on my YouTube, you should, especially if you're texting or typing all day, you might want to check that out. I think it's called Wrist and Elbow Pain, episode 1. Okay, we're gonna get this out of the way. You get to plop your butt down on the ground. And you're gonna put your knees about shoulder width, maybe even a little bit more. And I want you to lean back. We're not doing hip switches, okay? We're not going in that reciprocal pattern of internal and external rotation on opposing sides. We're only focusing on hip internal rotation. And now, with keeping one leg steady, your joint has to do all the movement. You can't get all that movement from your pelvis or your lumbar spine. It all has to be coming from your hip joint. And we're gonna make 8 on each side. I think I've already done 3, maybe 2, I don't know. We'll call that 4. And if your butt starts to scoot forward, that's cool. Just adjust if you're running out of room, or just keep scooting. But you'll see I'm not letting that opposite leg move. I'm just going through hip internal rotation. Now I wish the hip external rotation drill was this simple, but man, do I have some explaining to do for this next one. 1 more on each side. All right, cool. So we're gonna do something similar where we're having to control external rotation. So this was internal rotation. The femur, or the upper thigh bone, is rotating towards the midline of my body. So external rotation would be this. But gravity's doing too much of that work here. I don't like it because you don't have to use your muscles to control it. So what we're gonna have to do is lay on our belly. We're gonna be making something called a FABER position. Yes, FABER, F-A-B-E-R, flexion, abduction, external rotation of the hip. You're basically going to be getting into this position, but on your belly. Now this takes a little bit of concentration. I want you to watch me do 1 or 2 reps first before you go on and you do your 5 on each side. So you're gonna be getting onto your stomach, whether it's on the mat or carpet or bed or whatever it is. And there's gonna be some of you who just don't possess the hip mobility to do this. But the next exercise is gonna allow you to do the same thing. We're just progressing to having to use more core control or trunk stability for the next exercise. But for now, we're all gonna be on our bellies. And what you're gonna do, I want you to watch me. Let's see here, good. So you're gonna bend one knee. And when you do this, your head's gonna be down. You're gonna keep your knee bent the entire time. We're gonna do 5 on each side. I'm gonna do 6 because I'm gonna show you one before we get going. You're gonna lift your knee up off of the floor. So already, I'm using my glute to produce hip extension. I'm laying on the ground, so I can't produce tons of back extension. It is possible, but if you're feeling this in your low back, maybe just chill, wait for the other side, or just wait for the next exercise. So I'm lifting up, I'm externally rotating as I bring my knee up to the side of my body, and then I'm back to the start and down. Sounds easy, maybe, looks complicated, but if you can't get your knee off the ground, I just want you to hang out, okay? We're gonna do this same movement, but in quadruped or on our hands and knees in a second. So I'm gonna drop my head, I'm gonna do my 5 reps, where I lift with the bent knee, and bring my leg out to the side, and then I'm here. And the great thing about this is you can only go as far as you can go. And gradually over time, the more mobility you gain in your hip, the farther you're going to be able to get your leg up to your side. So coming up, out to the side, back to the start, up, side, start. I got one more left, but before we go on, you want to make sure that you're keeping your pelvis and your belly on the ground. If you have to get your leg out to the side, if you have to roll, you don't own that position. Don't even worry about it. We've got some more stretching to do and then some more mobility to work on. We've got one more to go. Knee bend. Okay. Whew. That already fired up my glute. Now we got to do the other side. I'm going to talk a little bit less because you already know what you're doing. We're on our bellies. Pelvis stays flat. Bent knee. Up. Your knee stays off the ground until the very end. And that's 5. That left side is infinitely easier for me. All right, so if you've just been hanging out, this is the one for you. But if you have a little bit of wrist discomfort, you're gonna wanna do this on your forearms, or prop yourself up, maybe grab some towels, put them in your hands to take some of the stress out of your wrists. But we're gonna be in a quadruped position, so we're gonna be on our hands and knees, and we're gonna make that same leg out to the side, external rotation position, or movement, to work on that hip external rotation, opening up the hips, so our backs can be a little bit more free, so we can create better hip extension with whatever it is, deadlifting, top of the squat. Even overhead pressing requires great hip extension. But then there's activities like jumping and golf and all that stuff that requires great hip extension as well. And that's where these things are awesome at gaining and maintaining your mobility. So what you're gonna do, this is a quadruped hip circle. You're gonna be hands underneath your shoulders, knees underneath your hips, and the goal here is to stay braced in your trunk and not have any rotation going on in your hips. I know it's hip day, no hula hooping, none of that stuff, just really stable trunk and hips. And so you're going to lift your leg out to the, you're gonna lift your leg up, out to the side, and then back down. I almost went the other direction, which is, we'll save it for a later date. But you're gonna go up with a bent knee, out to the side, and then back down. And once again, we're only making 5. You wanna make sure that you have that nice stable back. 3, just have my hand here, just to make sure I'm not moving too much in my spine. 4, and 5. So you can see how if you had limited mobility in your hip, when you were laying down and couldn't do this, how keeping your knee below you can give you the ability to start to work and progress into that opened up position. Now there's some of us whose hips are oriented in a position where they're like kind of like straight ahead, and you'll never get there, and that's okay. The hands and knee option is a great one. It's good, or I wouldn't have thrown it your way. But we're gonna go on to the other side now. So once again, hands underneath your shoulders, knees underneath your hips, you're up to the back, out to the side, and down. I'm gonna put my other hand there so I know if I'm moving a lot in my lumbar spine, I don't want to. Kicking up and back, out to the side, and down. Awesome. So, I had to express great trunk control or I would have been wobbling all over the place. I actually increased the amount my trunk had to do by taking one hand away. But then I need to show that I have great mobility in my hip to make those nice circles. All right, it's band time. We got 4 things in a row with this rubber band. It's going around your knees for all of them. If your band is enormous like mine, just make a nice little figure 8 as you get it there. And then you're gonna pop down onto your side. We're gonna start using our hips through this range of motion that we've just enforced. Hip extension, hip internal rotation and external rotation, even some flexion here. All the stuff that we've previously worked on coming together with these 4 exercises. Let's see here, what's the best way to do this? Head on, feet on, there we go. So you're gonna start with your knees bent to about 90 degrees. You get your heels in line with your butt. You're gonna straighten out your top leg. Your foot is not to come in front of this marking, this frontal plane of your body. It has to stay behind. And you're just lifting back and up. And back and up. What you don't want to see is that as you lift, your hips don't want to open. Okay, can't have that happen. It's as if you were laying against a wall in your low back, nothing's moving except your butt cheek. We're making 12. Relax your head. Maybe turn your foot down towards the ground a little bit. Get a little bit more glute medius. Two more. All right. So we're starting to warm up these muscles on the sides of our hips that help create hip stability, hip extension, control our low back a little bit. All things that are really good for the hip, for the back, for the knees. If you don't have great control over your thigh bone, what happens is it starts to internally rotate something called valgus, and that holds the potential to irritate your kneecap. Not letting your foot come past that frontal plane. This bent knee helps keep your pelvis in a neutral position. I think I got 4 more. And 4, okay. Woo. And the party just keeps on going here with the glutes and the bands and all that stuff. You're gonna be on your feet. We are gonna be making crab walks. Some people call this monster walk, and I tend to call these whatever, okay? These are crab walks or monster walks. We're gonna do each. We're gonna do some sideways walking, and we're gonna do some forwards walking, and then we're gonna do something called a kickstand. I'm just gonna move some of this stuff out of the way. All right, so with your, I call them crab walks, because crab walk sideways, and then monster walks we'll do in a second. Your feet have to face forward. It's just like, no questions asked. You have to face them forward. If you're turning them out, yeah, your glutes are gonna be able to work, but they're not going to have to work as hard as if you put your feet forward. And once again, you don't want to let your knees come in. So already, just standing here, we've had to create an external rotation moment, getting our glutes firing. We're keeping a nice flat spine, and we're going to go for 15 steps in each direction. Now you can go 15 in a row one direction, and then 15 in the other. I've got a pretty limited space here right now, so I'm just going to go 5 in one direction, 5 in the other, 5 in one direction, 5, blah, 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 3 laps. So here we go. So athletic position, if you've never played basketball, this is it, or if you're playing baseball, you're getting ready for a ball to get hit to you. But your feet are forward. Your knees are over your feet. Your hips are externally rotated, and you'll see that this might give you an arch in your feet. If you have flat feet, maybe you've got an arch. Now, as you're going side to side, you want to make sure you're not going here. Because what's happening is you're kicking forward, which means that you're probably going to use your TFL a little bit here. Something gets really tight, causes lots of issues. But then you're actually turning off your glute on this bent side. But we always want the glute to be working. So we want to think about pushing ourselves with this glute in this direction. Externally rotating, your feet are forward. This can be harder than you think if you're keeping your feet forward. Okay, I got one more time down and back. Now I've got pretty high arches, so I don't need to worry too much about this giving me an arch, but I can feel the bottom of my feet working, especially on this right side. Okay, so those are crab walks. Anybody tells you otherwise, tell them, nope, Dr. Mike told me they're crab walks, and that's what I'm sticking with. The next one is a monster walk. Have you ever seen monsters or zombies or wide feet walking at you? Same thing's gonna happen here, but boom, knees are out, feet are straight. We're creating that external rotation moment in our glutes. If we're just passively putting them in external rotation, our glutes aren't working very hard. I don't know what we're working on. Your feet are forward, and as you take a step forward with your left leg, your right arm goes forward. We're not gonna sacrifice our reciprocal walking pattern. We're gonna go nice and tall, firing our glutes. Firing our glutes, same thing, 15. I'm just gonna go backwards because why not? It's all the same, working those glutes. There we go. Make sure I keep that reciprocal pattern. This one blows people's minds. I think I see Andrew Key just signed on. Just know that you got a pretty good salad and some dessert coming your way from Katie and myself. All right, we got one more time. Keeping that athletic position. We're not standing up really tall. We're still bent. This is what I look like from the side. Okay, still using my glutes. Feet are forward. Let's see here. There we go. Opposites. Kind of fry my brain a little bit with the backwards walking. Okay, so I did 3 laps, about 15 reps or so. The last thing, we're not walking, but we're going to keep the band on our knees. We're going to do something called a kickstand. Now, you're going to set yourself up in a deadlift position, whatever that is for you. But guess what? Feet are forward. Okay? So you're going to be here, and then you are going to take one step back, just with one leg. And from here, you're going to keep your upper legs, your thighs, right where they are, and you're just lifting your back foot. So you're going to work both glutes. We're going to do 10 on each side, but you have to maintain that knee alignment with your foot. So here it is from the front. Nothing's moving. And we're using our glutes. We're creating isometric contraction in our butt muscles. I think I have 2 more. 10, and then I'm switching. Let's see how this one goes. My balance on my right side is a little worse. There we go, see. Tall through the hip. You don't want to be sunk down. We still want to use that glute. Bend that front knee, and then we're just picking up the back foot. Kickstand on that right leg. Okay. So the bands are done. We put them through their paces, and we came out victorious. And now we got a really weird hip external rotation, hip extension, stretch, mobilization, that kind of thing. And you're going to start down in tall kneeling, okay? So we got low kneeling where we're sitting back on our heels, and that's cool. You can start here if you want. You're just adding one little extra step. But you're going to start tall kneeling, and then we're going to go to half kneeling. So we have to stay really tight in our trunk. We're going to be working on the mobility and balance of one of our legs. So I'm going to be moving my left leg. So to do this, I need to go through a little bit of a swoop with my leg around. I'm tall through my hip. So now we've gone from tall kneeling to half kneeling. From here, keeping our support leg stable, but we're gonna move our front leg out to the side. And so now I'm gonna get a stretch in the front of my supporting leg and in my inner thigh. And I'm gonna push with my hand. I'm getting even more stretch in my adductors. These guys get no love. Everybody forgets about the adductors except for us, right? Here we are working on opening up our hip because we're gonna need this adduction, or excuse me, we're gonna need the abduction by stretching out our adductors for our Cossack squats. And you're coming back here into half kneeling, and then you're going back down and switching. Stretch, get into it for a second, then you're out of it. We're making 5 on each side. Staying tall through your hips, tall through your chest, but not leaning back. We're not crushing our spines here. I don't want to have to see you on Monday. I would love to see you on Monday, but I don't want to have to see you on Monday. We're going over low back stuff. Not the hardest, not as hard as some of those things we were doing earlier on our belly and on our hands and knees, but still pretty effective at opening up our hips into external rotation and extension. Pushing just a little bit with that hand. You don't have to, you can take it away. But I like getting that little extra bit of stretch. This can also be part of a Turkish get-up. If you don't know what the Turkish get-up is, look it up. I'll probably make a video or 20 about it eventually. It is maybe the most versatile exercise that has ever crossed my plate. Can't think of anything else that works on mobility, flexibility, stability, control, and strength as good as a Turkish get-up. But that's for another day. So, we're coming down. We've opened everything up in the fronts of our hips, the backs of our hips, and now we've also worked on our thighs. Now we've got to get the back of the thighs with a nice half-kneeling hamstring stretch. I'll show this one from the side. So here we are, we're tall kneeling, and then we're going to go to half kneeling, just like we were doing. You're going to slide your foot forward. So here you are, you're still tall through your back leg, you're tall through your chest. I want you to push your butt back like you're about to do a deadlift. And you should feel a pull coming in the back of your knee. Now, or the back of your thigh, excuse me. Now, if you need to hold on to something for balance, be my guest. I mean, it can be something as simple as this here. But you'll see my back is straight. I've anterior tilted my pelvis a little bit because I want to get a hamstring stretch. I don't want to dump into my low back and really round and be like, wow, look how close I can get my head to my foot. I don't care. That doesn't impress me. This definitely doesn't impress me. So you're keeping that nice straight back and pushing your butt back. And we're here for probably another 30 seconds or so because I've been rambling. And we're just stretching out those hamstrings. Some people, oh, I don't have a bench, I don't have a chair or a step or something to stretch out my hamstring. I don't care. You've got the ground or a floor, and this is all you need. All you need to stretch out your hammies, your quads, calves, just the floor. And we've got 8 seconds left, and then we're switching. And then we got our Cossack squats, and then it's happy hour. Alrighty, it's time to switch. Whatever happy hour is for you. Choose something that makes you happy. It doesn't have to be a cocktail, it doesn't have to be a drink. All right, so here we are. Tall through our back leg, tall through our torso. Opposite leg is in front. Straight back. Oh, and I don't go nearly as far on this one. My hands are a little bit tighter here on the right. And we're just here for 1 long minute. Just stretching out. If you want, you can get those back toes under, work on that mobility of the big toe again, the bottom of the foot. Maybe it's plantar fasciitis, maybe it's Achilles issue, maybe you sprained an ankle recently. The big toe can contribute to all these things. You need to stretch it out, get that mobility. Hamstrings, our hamstrings actually slow our legs down when we're running. We shouldn't be using them to pull us forward. We should always think about propelling ourselves forward when we run with our calf and our soleus and our butt muscle. That's where that power comes from. Hamstrings are the brakes of the legs as they're swinging. They slow down so we don't kick ourselves in the face. They work a lot eccentrically, which is really tough on the muscles and the tendons. So they need a lot of love as well. Okay, so last thing, here we are, we made it. We are on to Cossack squats. If you haven't done them before, here we go. You're going to take a nice wide stance. Let's see if I can match the screen here. Okay, your feet are going to face forward to start. Now I'm going to squat over to my left, and as I do that, my right foot is actually going to pivot. Now I'm going to feel a stretch in my right inner thigh. So I'm sitting back like I have a chair behind my left leg, and then I'm back up to the middle. And I'm going over to the right, and you'll see my toes come up. I sit back, and I'm up. I'm keeping my chest tall, and if you need something to hold on to, once again, not a balance exercise. We're going to do 8 on each side. I love Cossack squats because as you sit back, your knee and your shin stays vertical, your weight stays back, and even if you're having anterior knee pain, typically you can tolerate some variation of this. I think this is my 5th one on each side. I got 3 more to go. 1, chest is nice and tall. I'm feeling that stretch. I'm going through internal and external rotation of my hips. I'm having to go into hip flexion, which we worked on to start. I'm having to use hip extension at the top. All the things we worked on to this point, all coming together with this one simple, but not easy, exercise. And we did it. It was another hip and knee day for the books.